There we go. Hello everybody and welcome back once again. My name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and as promised, here is one of our 2 scenario replays that you're going to be able to see today. Let me just get this started by linking the stream in the usual places, and then we can get this underway, take a look at some army comps and all that kind of good stuff. It's just going to take me a moment here. Hello again, Jazz Deep. I hope you're doing well. Perfect. Well, let's go ahead and get this started. So I will be in this battle today. We're going to have a 4 versus 4 Harad versus Gondor. Now Gondor is going to have the benefit of these fortifications up here in the hill. And there are several different places where they can really bottle us up and make us pay, especially with that light armor and some of the fine missile troops that Gondor can bring, especially the Rangers. There's going to be a ton of Athelian Rangers on the field today, so that's something that we're going to have to be absolutely aware of at all times. Let's take a look at my army now. I'm going to be playing, of course, this Harad. I've got Muhad Berserkers. Nice little bit of AP there to combat the heavily armored nature of Gondor. Got some Trollmen of Harad as well. They pretty well fulfill the same role as the Muhad Berserkers. They're just a little bit stickier and a little bit more expensive. Got some regular Harad archers here. And I have some Hashari as well. But these are just regular Hashari, not the Rangers. These are the Assassin versions. So got some Beast Hunters out here as well, 2 companies of. We've got some more Muhad Berserkers, another company of Trollmen, and yet another company of the Muhad Berserkers. I think in total I've got 2 to 3 companies of the Harad Archers. I've also got Southron Warband, some medium armored armor-piercing spears. And I've got a front line consisting of Serpent Guard and the Southron Pikemen, who are also armor-piercing as well. Southron Warband over there, Muhad Berserkers, and then another company of the Southron Warband. I don't think I have any cavalry today. I could be mistaken about that. I believe my General's Bodyguard is going to be in one of my my Trollmen units. And I think the name, or the play for this particular game is going to be me sending a lot of my armor-piercing troops to the aid of my allies, while I send the rest of my army up through these passes here and assault the Gondorians from the flank and support the other army who will be over there. Moving on over this way, we have the army of Engsvitz. He's got some dismounted Serpent Guard here. He's also brought Harad Spearmen, Hashari Stalker, so he's got some proper Rangers on the field today. Muhad Beast Hunters, Southron Archers, a whole bunch of those armor-piercing Southron Pikemen, some more Southron Archers, dismounted Serpent Guard, a little bit of Warband. I think he's got Warbands on each side. I could be mistaken. No, on this side he's actually got Trollmen. And there's some Champions of Nafar out there as well. So he's got a lot of Trollmen. He's got some Mumakil. And then finally he's got another unit of Warband in the back. So he's got a very elite army. He's going to be heading up the center and also on the wing. Moving over here, we have Simp of the Dim Cloud. I think that's Blindness. He's got some Trollmen of Harad, Champions of Nafarat, and a second company of the Trollmen as well. Muhad Beast Hunters coming on the line here. I think, based on the banners, there's about 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. He's got some Muhad Berserkers on his second line, and the front line is composed of Muhad Warriors, and I think some of those Muhad Beast Tamer Pikemen in addition too. And that's pretty well it for his army. So let's move on up here. No, he's actually got some Heshari, some light Heshari up here. 2 companies of them. A Ballista, which will certainly be very useful in the static, slow push that we're going to see here. He's got Serpent Fangs as his General's Bodyguard, which I think I actually have as well. I might have missed him in my army. And then he's got a unit of Southron Warband who's going to be defending them from cavalry charges. Moving on over here, we have Mr. Sneakman. He's got some Serpent Guard, 1 company of. Possibly a second one. Southron Warband on his front lines. Mostly Southron Warband with some pikemen interspersed liberally throughout. Harad Archers. 2 companies there. Muhad Beast Tamers as well, so a lot of armor piercing on our end today. Hashari Shadows, Black Serpents, and some upgraded Serpent Guard, which take the Black Serpent model. Got 3 companies of them right there. Muhad Berserkers, 2 to 3 companies of. He's got his own Trollmen, 2 units of them, and some Champions of Harad in addition too. So let's pop over to the Gondorian side of things. We'll go through them as quickly as we are able to. First Gondorian player on the field today is actually Harad. So if you guys watched my tournament stream from yesterday, Harad and I actually played against each other in Silmarillion, so he's going to be joining us for the battle today. Veterans of Osgiliath without their armor upgrades. He's also got Nimlothian Honor Guard. You can see them right there. Gondor Spearmen. More Gondor Spearmen with their full armor upgrades. Wardens of the White, who will apparently be switching over to two-handed swords in the next patch, which is interesting. Got some more of his forces out front here. Gods of Osgiliath, 2 companies of, and some Citadel Guard to back them up. Ithilien Rangers here from Harad, moving over to the center. Understandable. And then I think we're getting in to one of the other armies. This would be the army of Lango. He's got some civilians. He's also got Ravenhelms of Karandros, 1 company of. Polar Gear Marines, a whole bunch of missile units here. So we got 2 companies of Gondor Archers, 1 militia Archer. Wow, that was hard to say. He's got a Ballista. He's got his Polar Gear Marines. He's got some more militia Archers up front, some Fountain Guard, yet more Ravenhelms. And the front line here is going to be militia, backing up some pikemen, so some guards of Osgiliath there as well. Gondor militia infantry, holding down this choke point. More militia. Axemen of Lasarnak, looks like maybe two companies of them, yep, yes indeed. More Polar Gear Marines, and now we're getting into another one of the Gondorian armies, this one played by Dolar Elf. Gondorian archers there. Yeah, more Gondorian archers. A big stream of reinforcements as he's opting to not fight outside the city and actually abandon these more open choke points, which, you know, to be fair, is not a terrible idea. There's a lot of really nasty Haradrim things on the field today that can make him pay for being outflanked. So yeah, I'd probably come in here too. Got some spearmen, infantry, the pikemen, whatever the hell they're called, Osgiliath Guardians, something like that. Polar Gear Marines, Gondor militia units, and of course some Ithilien Rangers, who are going to be extremely important in this fight. The Gondorians, I believe, are a little bit outnumbered, even though it is an even match in terms of players. So they're going to have to use their Rangers to their maximum efficiency, and Harad is a great faction to use them against. Veterans of Osgiliath, with their armor upgrade this time. And now we have another Gondorian army under Eclipse of the Dark Cloud. I think he's got Rangers as well. He's got a ton of Gondorian militia, catapults, just a sea of them. It's kind of hard to tell who's who in here, but I think that there's infantry, there's Polar Gear Marines, there's probably some Gondorian archers, some Axemen of Lasarnak for sure, some Marksmen of Karandros, maybe a second company of the Karandros Marksmen, you know, of Dolar Elf's Gondorian infantry being left behind here as a potential rear guard in the event that the Haradrim try to get fresh. And more troops trickling in here, so we got some more Gondorian infantry. And I think that is going to cover all 4 of the Gondorian players. Still some more stuff back here from Lango. Veterans of Osgiliath, Wardens of the White, Nimlothian Honor Guard for Dolar Elf. Some civilians here from Lango. Wardens of the White from Finrod, we've seen them already. I think that pretty well does it. So let's just fast forward a teensy bit here. And go ahead and check our chat for a few minutes. Which faction do I think looks the best in Reforged? That's a good question. There's a lot of good looking factions. I'm personally partial to the Cardolan aesthetic. I really like the way the Cardolan looks. Next would probably be Gondor. I don't know if you've seen this one on UMAD's channel. As far as I know, this one was sent specifically to me, although I think they've done other versions on this map with similar compositions, but I don't think that you've seen this one before. I certainly hope not. As my understanding was that they were just going to send this replay to me, but if you have, well, you're going to see it again. You'll be able to get my take on it as well. So we have some Wardens of Minas Ithil. So these guys are actually armor-piercing archers. They're under Finrod's command. And they're setting themselves up here, but they are potentially and some pretty serious trouble. So I think the Heshari Shadows have been brought forward by Mr. Sneakman. He's also got his Black Serpents here. There is the possibility that they get run down. But it looks like Finrod saw it in time. He's going to recall his Wardens of Venus Ethiel, and they're going to be safe for the time being. Oh man, the scale of Medieval 2 is just something that I marvel at just a little bit every time. Massive, massive armies here. Just not something that you really see recreated in more modern Total Wars. I think that's why it has such staying power. Slowly but surely, everyone is setting themselves up. And I think Mr. Sneakman is probably going to be the more aggressive of the Haradrim army, so he's going to push forward right away with Southron Warband. And the Gondorians are actually kind of struggling to get themselves into position because of his very rapid advance. Yeah, most of his army is up here. He's actually splitting it into 2 sections. Part of his shock troops and trollmen and other armor-piercing nastiness are going to take the high ground here. They're going to move in and exploit the bridgehead created by the Ashari Shadows here and the Black Serpents as well. Whereas the rest of the rank and file are going to be sent into the meat grinder, and they're going to be able to pressure this this choke point here under Finrod. And Finrod, yeah, still rushing to get himself into position. The rapid advance of Mr. Sneakman appears to have caught the Gondorian player off guard. Whereas the rest of us are kind of taking our time. So Sneakman's pushing forward, but everyone else, we have Blindness's army here, and myself and Angstfitz as well. We're still just moving into position. I'm still just trying to get in through the highlands here. So we're swinging wide with most of our troops. And as I mentioned, I did also send a strong contingent over into the center to the support of my allies, and you can see them there. My Trollmen and my Muad Beast Tamers, or Beast Hunters. There's Beast Tamers, who are the cavalry, Beast Hunters, who are the javelins, and Beast Masters, who are the pikes. A little confusing. Yeah, but let's go ahead and kick it into about 1.5 times speed here while everyone gets themselves into a position where they are ready to attack. And it looks like Mr. Sneakman, of course, is going to be the first into the fray. The Southron Warband here, clashing with the Gondorian Militia. I would expect them to win that, even though they are a spear unit. Up here we can see some of the archers actually coming under some significant fire. 2 units of archers here actually being hit simultaneously by some of Mr. Sneakman's skirmishers. You can see them in the back here. Some Haradrim archers getting good value for such a militia unit, taking out a number of those rangers. But the Gondorian player is not going to just sit there and take it, and they're going to retreat, having lost maybe about 10 or 12 rangers. Mr. Sneakman's light infantry clashing here with the Gondorian spearmen, who are actually tired. They're winded by the necessity of having to run his way over here. So Finrod's going to keep them in position with some Nothian honor guards. This is going to be a very sticky pit for the Haradrim to go through. Well, they do have the necessary tools, especially with the Muhad Berserkers. They'll be able to smash their way through that armor pretty ably. Let me just make sure that my sound is where it's supposed to be. Perfect. Just sounded a little bit loud through my headphones. And still a little bit of chaos here in the Gondorian ranks as they try to navigate the pathfinding of these various camps and also get themselves into a spot that they feel comfortable defending against the hordes of the desert as they slowly trickle their way into those chokes. And a little bit of action up here with Muhad Beast Hunters. I think there's a bit of an artillery duel going on here. I think the Gondorian artillery is trying to snipe out the Haradrim Ballista, which I have successfully done to at least one of them. Slaughtered a few of the crew, but Blindness's Ballista is still an effective threat, even with 2 out of the 3 artillery pieces there. Oh, pardon me. Angstfitz getting himself into position. His rapid advance as well has gotten him up here quite quickly, but the Gondorians were much more able to be prepared for him. Eclipse knew exactly where he wanted to be earlier on, whereas Finrod had to kind of respond to his enemy's deployments and the moves of Mr. Sneakman. It looks like Eclipse had his positions prepared basically really early. Oh no! Oh, it's actually going to catch a couple of them! So Eclipse's Mumakil are actually going to be forced into a state of panic, and they are going to be taken out of commission almost immediately. That's bad news bears for the Haradrim. They might end up routing through their own troops here, but yeah, these guys are definitely gone from the battlefield today. They will not be coming back. That's a big loss for Angsvitz. That really sucks. But you know what? It do be like that sometimes. You have Mumakil and then someone gets a lucky catapult shot with their fire and pff, suddenly gone. It's a metaphor for life. Yeah, Eclipse is just waiting while the center slowly skirmishes with one another. I think Chris tried to move forward and maybe toss into the Gondor militia, but it ended up just being a waste of his time. Many of his beast whatevers, I can't remember the name of the unit, hunters, many of those beast javelins have paid the ultimate price for that. Well, the Gondorian infantry has moved down in support of the militia, but more and more Mr. Sneakman's forces have begun to trickle in, and as a result, the guards of Osgiliath here are actually a little bit defenseless. They don't have their shielded units to block for them. And they are looking like they're maybe a little bit out of position. Over here, Mr. Sneakman seems to be making good headway against the Gondorians, cutting through some of the Gondor infantry from Dolarelf here, and slaughtering the spearmen in addition to. Brought some of his trollmen of Harad forward. They're actually being peppered down now by Gondorian archers, well hidden behind a line of pikes and infantrymen. These poor, poor trollmen. But it's a decent trade. It's a decent trade to get rid of some of the Midlothian honor guard on the field, certainly. Although they're still very, very healthy at 72. Seems like there's some cavalry action here from Mr. Sneakman as well. Black Serpents harassing the Pelargir Marines. Dolarelf doing his best to staunch the bleeding here, close this gap in his lines. These poor Pelargir Marines really struggling with the pathfinding on this map. More of these units being forced to draw back. Got some Axemen of Lasarnak here who are attacking Mr. Sneakman's Trollmen. But there are those Rangers nearby. If those Hashari Shadows decided to make the Axemen the focus of their tender attentions, they would certainly fall away very, very quickly indeed. I think Lango probably recognizes that and is going to pull back with his Axemen, get them somewhere a little bit less exposed, and then he'll be able to get more value out of them later on in the game. So we have some routing here from the Gondorians. Not too sure what it was. More forces being committed now, more winded forces. This is really a struggle for the Gondorians. They are slowly kind of getting things in hand. I think with more and more numbers they'll be able to do that. But currently, they are kind of struggling to stop Mr. Sneakman's advance. And you gotta hand it to him. Rapid advance like this really has thrown the Gondorians into chaos, and he's exploited that very, very well indeed. Though a cause for concern certainly would be the constant arrow fire that's pushing in here. So the Gondorian spearmen have been routed off. Midlothian Honor Guard now beating a hasty retreat. And that may just expose this other choke point here under Finra. Now at the same time, Southron Warband are over here with the Serpent Guard. They're having a bad time fighting the guards of Gilead from the front. But the other pocket of resistance here, the Gondorian militia and infantry, have been swept away. Let's see what we got here. Muhad warriors. Artillery duel still continuing there between, I believe, Chris's army and the army of Lango. Muhad warriors from Chris pushing up the center here. Going to clash with the pikemen of Osgiliath and some of the Citadel Guard. This is not going to go well for those Muhad warriors, I do not think. Actually, it looks like Chris's ballista has been taken out of commission, so they're being committed to the fray as well. These guys are probably... okay, they're going after the Serpent Fangs from Chris as well. Trying to thin out these elite Haradrim. Not terribly effective. Especially against loose formation infantry like this. Artillery tends to attack the center of a unit, so really you're just going to be hitting the same areas over and over again. And, yeah, we saw that earlier. This one guy on the ground here has been shot just several times. Utterly merciless. But, unfortunately, that doesn't really get you a lot of significant value for your ammunition. In the center, things are fairly static. Angsvitz, I believe, is also beginning his assault. And he's making good headway here as well against the Gondorian militia lines. Even backed up with the Lasarne Axemen, though they may be. Angsvitz is overrunning the positions of Eclipse here. Some of his Gondorian infantry has been brought forward, and they're starting to push back the warband. Pelargir Marines are nearby, although they've expended all of their ammunition already. And the Gondorian militia now beginning to rout. And the Axemen of Lasarnak will be not long for this world as well. Fountain Guard, along with, I think it's just Fountain Guard here, pushing back the Trollmen of Harad, wiping out that expensive and important unit, and making sure they'll have no further part to play in this engagement. Yeah, these Momokil here have stopped rampaging, but they're actually still routing. You can't control them at all. My troops are now all, well, some of them are fairly tired after coming through this very, very long trek, but I'm also beginning my approach as well. I think these are some of, no, this would be Engsvitz's army still. But this is where I'm going to choose to make my stand. It does give me a good flat place to fight on, but it also gives me access in behind their final choke point. Well, one of their final choke points. They've got a small hill up here that I won't have access to, but this is a big gap in their defenses, and I'm going to try to exploit that. Catapult here from Eclipse of the Dark Cloud, rather, could be a problem for us as we begin to blob up, especially against these Gondor militia. He could really make us pay for it, but we'll see. Moving a little bit farther forward here, Lango clashing with the army of Chris, but things are not going well so far. In the center of the Haradrim are kind of bouncing off the Gondorian line. Have some supporting artillery fire there as well from Lango's ballista. And they are skewering these poor Muhad warriors. And they were already going to struggle in this. There's Wardens of the White in there. There's Guardsmen of Osgiliath, the Citadel Guard. There's a lot of significant resources that have been committed by the Gondorians here. Hopefully these Muhad Beast Hunters will be able to make the sacrifice of these other Muhad warriors worth it. Over here on Mr. Sneakman's side of things, he has been doing quite well for himself. He's managed to break his way through almost entirely through this choke point here that was defended by the Guards of Osgiliath, and now Finrod is struggling to kind of keep things in order. They do have a significant strong point up here where a lot of missile units have been brought to bear. Ooh, some nasty javelin fire, I think, coming down here into some of these beast hunters. Possibly into the champions of Nafarad as well. So they do have some strong points remaining, and they are kind of bleeding the Haradrim as they advance. But this has been difficult for the Gondorians. There's been a lot of resources expended to keep Mr. Sneakman in check. More javelins being used up here on some Trollmen of Harad, while the Gondorian infantry holds them down. And so I think we could see his flanking forces blunted, and that attack stopped. But nonetheless, he has had some success in some key places here, getting through these major choke points. It did its job. He drew up enough forces that he was able to crush the Gondorians here. So that works out quite nicely for him. Over here in the center, it looks like Lango is pushing forward. Some berserkers from Chris have moved forward against the Gondorian militia. They will be able to hack their way through that. Muhad Beast Hunters from Chris getting caught in close quarters by Lango's militia. And these beast tamers are being brought forward. Ooh. I think in support of the Muhad warriors and berserkers over here. And he's doing his best to overrun this position. There are significant reserves, however. But at the very least, he has forced the ballista out of position for now. We'll see what happens here. I'm still biding my time with my forces. I was considering helping Chris here, but I also noted that they had many missile units, especially the Rangers. And I wanted to wait for those units to expend their ammunition before I was willing to commit my my expensive and important units, such as my Trollmen. And the Muhad Beast Hunters in particular can get a lot of value, so I want to try and keep them alive for as long as possible. Engsvitz pushing hard. Fountain Guard have reformed alongside some Gondorian infantry. Some Masarnic Axemen in there as well, but they are being showered with javelins from Engsvitz's Muhad Beast Hunters. Another vicious volley ripping its way through the ranks of those heavily armored Gondorians. That's pretty painful. And now I think Engsvitz is managing to push his way through here, and now some of my army has finally arrived on scene. I've got my pikes here, I've got my spear, or my serpent guard, and I'm starting to come under attack from these entrenched missile units. So Marksman of Kara Andros from Eclipse of the Dark Cloud opening fire on my ranks. Now just slightly reforming. That nasty catapult narrowly missing my phalanx. That would have been extremely painful. And with that catapult firing at me, that's basically my cue. They're playing my song at this point, and I have to move forward because I don't want to get I don't want to take unnecessary losses. I would rather, if I have to lose my army, I'll lose it in close quarters rather than getting thinned out from afar by the catapult. Oh, another one here. I think this one will actually impact though. Oh, very close. Yeah, clipped the edge of my formation, and look at that damage. Very nasty indeed. And so just as Engsfitz's army is beginning to break off the attack here, the Harad Spearmen were thoroughly routed, and engage the Gondorian second line in other places, my army is going to move forward here. And I did everything I could to keep my core units in a good state of fatigue, which is why it took me so long to get here. So most of them are just active rather than like winded or tired like some of my other units in my army. And now they're going to crash into these Gondorians, and that's going to oblige Klebs to bring forward some more sturdy units, like his Gondor infantry there in reserve, to try and stop me. Most of my forces are going to be used here to push Eclipse, but I will send a token force in the form of some Southron Warband. I think I've got some Pikemen and some Serpent Guard over there as well, and we're going to push against these Gondorian militia. Just to keep them busy and not allow them to concentrate their forces in too many places. Gondorians here countercharging their dark counterparts from Harad. The Serpent Guard are going to meet them headlong. And it's going to be quality versus numbers here. Gondorians are so far not doing terribly. But the Serpent Guard, I think, are going to have the better of that engagement. They are by far the more elite unit. The Gondorian militia now breaking off the attack. And on this portion of the battlefield, at least, we are well poised to break through. Now, if we look over here, slowly the Gondorians are being rolled up in certain places. Now, Dolar Elf has come in to pick up the slack for Finrod, and he's managing to blunt the attack over Mr. Sneakman. So this could be the last that we see of most of his army. I think he's got some cavalry in the back, perhaps, that are still being a pain. Could be mistaken, but I haven't seen too much from his rangers and his mounted units, although it's possible that I just missed it. But yeah, I think this is most of his remaining forces. He's still got the Black Serpents, though. That's a good thing to have. But the Gondorians have managed to blunt the assault here. Wardens of the White have pushed forward against the Harad Remarchers. I think that's pretty well it for Mr. Sneakman's army. Some Serpent Fangs from Chris being brought forward to put a little bit of pressure onto the Wardens of the White, maybe try and thin their numbers out if they have to lose that fight. At least they'll take some of those heavily armored and elite Gondorians with them. Some Gondorian archers being shuffled over. And yeah, this side of the battlefield, very action-packed, but finally the Haradrim forces are beginning to fall away, and the Gondorians are stabilizing the situation. Over in the center, it looks like Chris has been beaten back here as well. Engsfitz and his troops are doing their best, but his army is looking a little bit ragged here in addition to, so it's kind of down to... Like, my army is, I think, the most intact and fresh force still remaining on the field. So this is going to be, the weight of the battle, I guess, hanging on our shoulders for a little while. We're slowly pushing through here, and the Gondorians are beginning to give ground in the face of the Serpent Guard. But this is bad news. Some nasty archers up here, and I think they're about to be joined by Athelian Rangers. And the Athelian Rangers are going to train their sights on this big old blob here of my pikemen and my Serpent Guard. The X-Men of Lasarnak being thoroughly defeated, but reinforcements are on their way. And now 64 of those Athelian Rangers are going to be laying down some devastating enfiladating fire into my side of the field. Got some Heshari Stalkers here, so some of the Rangers from Engsfitz. Not too sure what they're going after. Probably this big old blob here, eh? Oh, yeah. Laying down the pain as my Southron Warband push through this choke point, try to tie down some of these units. But I think I'm actually going to turn them around and try to attack this Polar Gear from the Marines, rout them if I can. But the Rangers will be laying down the pain here, and many of these Gondorians are going to feel their sting from afar. More Rangers from Dolar Elf being brought forth. Some reinforcements. 2 companies of guards of Osgiliath. That might be the quality that they need to to finish off this army regardless of any ranger support. My warband here managing to make it down to the Pelargia Marines. I think that was enough. No, at the very least it obliged Lango to pull them back. But now my South Run warband are going to rout here in the face of an attack from the rear by some very scary units. Veterans of Osgiliath are no joke in close quarters indeed. Let's see what else we got here. Now the center position is being abandoned. We've got some Hashari that have been brought forward by Chris to the aid of myself and Inksvits, and they're going to attack these Ravenhelms from the rear. That's not great for them. And Eclipse is trying to save what he can along with Lango, and they're pulling back to another one of their strong points. But the Gondorians are running out of places to hide. Chris's army is still relatively intact. Got some Champs of Nafrat here along with some Trollmen. The best is yet to come for Chris's Haradrim army. And there's some Gondorian forces here that have kind of been cut off from their retreat. They have some avenues to get back, but they'll be coming in pretty well at the same time, I think, as the Haradrim forces. Lango and friends and what remains of Finrod's army trying to save what they can, get it into this central choke point here. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful enfilading fire here. Fantastic positioning from the defending Gondorian players, really making me pay for it. I didn't actually notice this until much, much later in the battle. And now with the addition of those Guards of Osgiliath, this is a foregone conclusion for my forces. We got some Javelins here, some Inkfits' Beast Hunters. Throwing their Javies into the Athelian Rangers, and that's going to hurt. That's going to kill about a third of the remaining unit. Maybe they get one more. I don't know, we're going to see those Javelins on the horizon? I think we are. And that pressure is enough, at least, to push them out of position, although too late, unfortunately, to save my attacking 3 units. Oh, Javelin volley overhead, scything through a Serpent Guard and the South Run Warband from myself. Angsvets is going to charge in with his South Run Warband, at least tie the Pelargia Marines down for a little while. But there's a second company there that is unimpeded from continuing their assault. And it's reasonably close right now. We're actually behind by a few percentage points, so the Gondorians have done very, very well for themselves with some fairly limited resources. There's a lot of like Gondorian militia and stuff on the field today, so you gotta hand it to them. They've done well, they've used their positions well, and aside from the hiccup there with Mr. Sneakman, this is pretty well gone textbook for them. They've gotten the engagements that they wanted, and yeah, they've managed to tie us down in some important and very exposed areas and just hit us hard. So hats off to them. Some Gondorian archers here I think are getting caught as the Trollmen from Chris move forward. The elites from the Harad army chasing down these very, very tired Gondorian units. A lot of these guys are actually exhausted, and that is very significant. That has a severe and acute impact on their performance in combat, especially their staying power. Some of the Hashari here getting targeted by the veterans of Osgiliath. They're pretty well not even going to notice that missile fire from one of Harad, however. They are certainly going to feel. And I've actually brought forward some of my Muhad Beast Hunters, so my reserves have been engaged in the center. I've got some Muhad Beast Hunters and some Trollmen of Harad here. Again, being very cautious. I should probably be a little bit more proactive in this battle, but I was very concerned and very, very much aware of Harad's weakness to missile fire, so I wanted to try and wait out my enemies if at all possible. Black Serpents here from Mr. Sneakman, looking for an opportunity. As the ragged remnants of my army and Eclipse's army push in against the Gondorians. And it looks like we've managed to kind of regain the initiative here with the help of, I believe those are Eclipse's Muhad Beast Hunters who've managed to cut our way through the Guards of Osgiliath, and now we are starting to take things back. So I brought forward my Muhad Berserker reserve units, and now we are smashing our way through these Gondorians, and this is going to compromise this whole defense here. So they're going to have to continuously fall back, get themselves a little more and more tired, And you can see that they're making for the high ground here, this final choke point. So I think that's Eclipse's catapult. Firing down. Ooh, getting a nice hit there against my Muhad Berserkers. Frying many of those lightly armored tribesmen. Not so lucky with those other 2 shots, unfortunately. So while things begin to stabilize, why don't I take a look at chat here. Hello there, Zoo. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but thanks for joining us. Patty Moore, pleasure to have you here. I can't believe I got the game in French. Well, it's not that surprising. That was disastrous for Harad. Yeah, we've had a few fairly disastrous moments here. Multiple HP on the Wardens. Yes, as far as I know, that will not be changing. Hello, Coma. Thank you for joining me. Don't often see Coma on stream, but it's a pleasure to have you here. Ooh. Getting a good piece of the Serpent Guard from Inksfits there. 6 or 7 of them. This is a really, really tough place for them to be, and being pinned in place by the pikes. Unfortunately, the pikes are going to rout, so they're not going to be able to play the role of a roadblock for too much longer. Maybe that catapult will get one more shot off. I certainly hope so. I'm down for some juicy catapult volleys. And gets trying. It's just having trouble winding up. But yeah, this has been a bloody, bloody struggle, and it's almost dead even at this point. I got those Black Serpents and some Serpent Guard here, both from Mr. Sneakman. And the Serpent Guard are basically full strength at this point. I think that's Ranger fire coming down here, along with supporting fire from the Marksman of Kaer Andros, thinning out what remains of our important units. There's still a lot of Gondorians from Lango over here who have not been able to make it to the top of that hill. Again, that rapid Herodrum advance, managing to isolate a significant number of the reinforcements. So now Lango is having to fight a rearguard action here. And he is slowly but surely being beaten down. There's just a little bit more Herodrum numbers. They would be able to envelop him on this side as well. But as it is, they have pinned in place some of his pike units, which would be extremely powerful up there on that hill. And more and more Herodrum reinforcements are kind of trickling in here and compromising this position by going through the camp. Over here, Pelargian Marines look like they just took a charge there from the Serpent Guard, who paid for it mightily. I think there's about half the unit or so dead here on the ground. But again, another missile strong point up here. There goes one of the Gondorian generals. We could see a mass rout here with all these tired and militia tier units. Lango still trying to retreat towards that hill, I think. Finrod having set up another choke point, or another checkpoint rather, to allow him to fight a rearguard action. Hopefully allow some of Lango's troops to escape to the top of the hill. Got some Champions of Nafarat here. The Black Serpents from Mr. Sneakman have come in from the rear, and they're going to be preying on the Gondorian militia archers. A nice big charge here. And that, at the very least, is going to keep these guys from shooting into the Herodrum. Gondorian spearmen here on their way. Mr. Sneakman's not going to let them have their way, though. Ooh, a charge into the rear of pikemen at the same time as there's a javelin volley coming in. I think this could be the end of the Black Serpents. But it is rapidly increasing the amount of casualties the Guards of Osgiliath are taking, so it might just be a calculated sacrifice there on the part of Mr. Sneakman. Inksfits pushing forward. I think my troops, along with Inksfits, have begun to push this final choke point here. At the very least, we can put some pressure on the catapult. Maybe if we can push our way through, we can shut it down. Eclipse's Marksman of Kaer Andros, hitting my pikes hard. I've still got some Herodrum archers, so I've moved them down here to put them in sort of a flanking position where they can lay down enfilading fire into these this big defending blob up on the hill. They're quite exposed, so it might be decent for us, but I don't know if they're firing. Oh. Well, that's a big oops, isn't it? Shooting at these poor routing units here. Bit of a waste of ammunition, so micro-lapse on my end. But yeah, very much the idea behind positioning them down here was so that they could fire into those troops. It's a shame that I'm not actually capitalizing on that. I've still got some reserves. I got some Muhad Berserkers, a couple full companies of them. I've still got a full company of Muhad Beastmasters. I've got some remnants here, some scraps, got some pikemen, an okay amount of archers as well. And I'm fairly certain that I have trollmen in addition to, and I think they're bringing up this side. There's some of my trollmen. I think I might have used one company of them already, so that might be my only one left. Another catapult volley there, as the Gondorians desperately try to hold back the tide. Ooh, a nasty little volley there into Chris's trollmen. Gonna claim the lives of many of them. Still some Serpent Guard left on the field. And a lot of Finrod and Lango's troops have either been evacuated or caught down on this battlefield and swiftly dealt with. Ooh, look at this. So nasty. There's some very high value targets here for them as well. And they're focusing everything they got. Missiles, javelins, there's some rangers up there. And this is just hell on earth for the Haradrim. And they're trying to push through, trying to get up there and engage these missile units who are quite exposed on the front line. You can see some Fountain Guard moving in under Lango. Nearly a full company of Fountain Guard. They're going to take position up there alongside some Raven Helms. And this is going to be a tough fight for the Haradrim. I've also brought in my Serpent Fangs. We haven't really seen too much from them in this battle, but I've actually been saving their ammunition. We're going to see my Serpent Fangs supporting this push. Trying to go after, I think, the Rangers. Yes, indeed. So we're going to be able to at least drive the Rangers back. And over here, it looks like the Guards of Osgiliath. No, these guys have actually done very well for themselves. Now they're pushing back against my troops and Angstvitz's troops here as well. I've still got some archers that can be used to good effect against them. But this is not looking great for us. Hashari being brought forth. Some of Mr. Sneakman's remaining troops, the scraps from his army, moving forward to help us as well. And I think I've still got some reinforcements. Yeah, I got my Beast Hunters, and I've got another company of Trollmen. Well, what do you know? I haven't actually used both my companies yet, or even one of them. So I've got 2 units of Trollmen left, Muhad Berserkers, and my Beast Hunters. So again, I'm just waiting out the missile units of my enemies before I commit those important troops to the battle. Because if I just throw them in, then it's possible that they will be massacred. There's still a lot of Gondorians left up here on the hill. So yeah, we definitely want to take it slow. Over here, unfortunately, my allies are stalling out a little bit. Looks like some of these spearmen actually came back from routing. The Fountain Guard have taken some casualties so far. My Serpent's Fangs pouring arrows into this blob, hitting some of the Raven Helms, hitting some of the Fountain Guard. It's a decent place for them to shoot at. And at the end of the day, the Serpent's Fangs are actually pretty capable infantry as well. So we have some things going for us. A lot of quality. Oh, a nasty hit there from that catapult from Eclipse, scything through this column of my advancing light infantry. I have my Trollmen leading the way as well. They've taken some light casualties. I think the Rangers are firing at them for sure. Now my Pikemen and some of Mr. Sneakman's Haradrim Warband have managed to hold on here. And there's actually a retreat here going on at the same time that we are pushing forward. And we have some of our own missile units to support us. Ah, another nasty hit there. I'm trying to use my Muhad Beast Hunters, but they're just being focus fired by the remaining Gondorian missiles. Hopefully they'll be able to get at least one volley off here. Nope, unfortunately not. I'm going to try and pull them out and save their numbers, because they're just getting slaughtered right now by those Gondorian archers. And defeat is looking certain here for the Gondorians, so at least we're making some headway over here. Unfortunately, our allies were beaten back on the left-hand side, so I was forced to throw in some of my own Trollmen to try and even out the fight. Got some Javies down here as well. These would be my Muhad Beast Hunter Javies being brought forward. At least we're managing to get some value off of the second unit. Oh no! One of our Haradrim allied generals has gone down. And there's going to be a minor retreat here from Lango, pulling back with his Fountain Guard, and that does kind of open up opportunities for cavalry to slip through, so I think Mr. Sneakman is going to try and take advantage of that. I've got my own Hashari still here. So yeah, we're just trying to pick on the units that do still remain. They would have been helpful to use against the Fountain Guard, and that's actually probably what prompted the retreat here, is the presence of my Javelins and my Hashari. Another Haradrim general has been slain. The Fountain Guard now going to double back. Oh no, my poor Hashari. Oh, there's that weird bug there. Some problems with their attachments, probably. Gondorian Militia, really getting a lot of value here from my poor Hashari. If I see an opportunity, I'm going to throw my Hashari in. I think these guys are out of ammunition now. I'm going to toss them in there as well, try and crush these Fountain Guard by flanking them. And then over here, it's still a slog. Got my Trollmen in there. The Valiant Men of Gondor are holding on with everything that they've got left. My Javelins, very heavily reduced, but still with a lot of ammunition. Trying to aid our troops as best as they're able to. And now we start to pull ahead against the Gondorians. We got about an 8% lead there. Although how long that's going to last with this catapult running rampant, taking bites out of my Muhad Berserkers, remains to be seen. It's definitely going to be a close one, but it's a little bit static for now, so I think this is a decent time to take a look at chat here. Muhad Beast Hunters. Yeah, there's too many beast names. They're all Muhad, this, that, and the other thing. I get them confused all the time. Harad will win? I'd say that's a very strong possibility. We have a lot of quality left, but Gondor does have the positioning. What do we got here? My Serpent's Fangs being thrown in. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a Haradrim win. That's a good call. My Berserkers here, finally making headway, and I've still got another fresh company of them. Got some warbands. We're looking pretty worse for wear. The Lothian Honor Guard being pulled out here, and the Marksmen of Kaer Andros are being left to their fate. Looks like Mr. Sneakman has managed to slip through some of his Haradrim. That'll be enough here, I think, to finish off these Gondorian Militia Archers. A vicious charge there, we'll see them off immediately. Oh, a little bit of damage there from that catapult. That could have been very bad. Oh, not as bad as it could have been if that like landed right in the heart of my formation. We might have lost traction here. Might have been enough. But, oh, one more. Ooh, very nasty indeed, taking down more and more of my Serpent's Fangs. Actually, the Serpent Fangs managed to avoid that entirely. That was all on the Hashari. But finally, we've managed to break through. The Athelian Rangers being thrown in. And this catapult has been silenced. So this is where things are going to start to snowball very, very rapidly as we come down to the final 1,000 or so frames here.
The enemy's general lies dead.
I think that would be the end of Eclipse's general. So one of the Gondorian's generals has fallen. And with their commanding officer dead, I don't think the Gondorians are going to have the courage to continue to fight. Well, these civilians, look at these guys. Real champions. They're definitely losing this fight. But looks like my troops are less inclined to fight than just these regular old civilians, which is surprising. Serpent's Fangs continuing to push forward. Let's go ahead, turn it up just a little bit. Nimlothians being menaced with a Serpent Guard cavalry charge from the rear. And they're going to get it. Might be enough to rout the Nimlothians. I would be shocked. 50 of them dying. That would be a big loss indeed. But now we've broken through over here. And it's just the Nimlothians left on the field, I think. And the civilians will probably run away. And there's another Gondorian general going down in rapid succession. And there's the third Gondorian general. All 4 of their commanding officers dying in fairly rapid succession there. Now, this was a hell of a fight. Let's kind of review various places where combat was thick. Got slaughtered by Rangers here. Got some admit defeats now, so we'll quickly go through this. The fighting in this kind of these 2 central choke points here was not as heavy as I thought, but that was largely, I think, due to the headway that Mr. Sneakman and Chris had managed to make over here, and the amount of pressure that they were able to put on our enemies. So Ankfit's getting a ton of kills. Mr. Sneakman coming surprisingly in third, but like honestly, the kill count doesn't matter that much. We saw how useful he was in that fight, catching the Gondorians off guard, getting them on the back foot pretty well from the get-go, and that just helped us roll up their defenses with the support that he received from Chris. So really, really good game. It was kind of in the balance there for quite a few moments, actually. Certainly when we were playing it, we didn't know, how this was gonna play out. We were even, like dead even for a while. But the Gondorians just ran out of resources. They put up a really strong defense. They basically used every part of the map, and then they managed to make it up to this final piece of high ground. And they bled us. They bled us hard, especially in the streets between the camp, and with that catapult in particular. But ultimately, we just had too much quality on our side at the end, and we were able to push through that final choke point and win it. So that was a pretty good match. Let's take a look at some of the kill counts here. My Trollman of Harad, one of the units did very well, the other one, did okay. Some of my Dismounted Serpent Guard just got massacred. My Dismounted Serpent Guard they were in the thick of the fighting, but some of them had very difficult times against like pikemen and also getting shot by rangers, so that's kind of to be expected. My Muhad Berserkers did very well for themselves. My Harad Marchers just did okay. 84 on a low tier archer like that is actually pretty good. My Beast Hunters. Oh, these are actually Mr. Sneakman's. Ugh. Ugh. Let's go down here and take a look at mine. My Serpent Fangs did well. My Beast Hunters did reasonably well. Yeah, my Trollmen, again, it was a similar situation. I kind of remember it, where one of my Trollmen did better than the other because one of them was just in some thicker fighting and more exposed to missile fire. The Warband in the center did okay. Yeah, it was a pretty good game. Pretty good game all around. My Dismounted Serpent Guard actually did really well in this matchup. I guess I kind of underestimated them. I expected that they would just get kind of shot to pieces, but there was a lot of opportunities for them to fight like Gondorian infantry and like militia things and stuff that they kind of outclassed by tier. So yeah, they actually ended up performing really nicely for me in that game. And what that is going to do for this particular replay, I'm going to take another break, and then we'll be back in probably about 20 or so minutes with the second scenario replay. But before I do that, and the second replay will go on regardless of the answer to this question, but before I do that, I am interested in, I guess, kind of cutting out the middleman when it comes to replays, given that my time is becoming more and more limited. What with the development of Silmarillion being what it is, going back to school, hopefully starting work again full-time very, very soon. My time is going to be a little bit more limited, and I want to kind of keep up with the channel. I don't like to have the big gaps that I do, but when I need my computer on my days off, and I can't really justify having 6 hours to render a replay and then recording it. So it seems natural to kind of cut out the middleman and just stream the things live instead of recording and then rendering and then uploading. Like, that's 4 or 5 times the length of the process. So I think I would like to do more live replays like this, because not only does it save me a ton of time, I also get to interact with you guys. So let me know what you think of that as an idea. One of the potential downsides is that the stream quality isn't as high as the rendered quality. So you do have like a little bit of a quality hit in terms of the video, but I don't know. I will leave that up to you. But in any case, my name is Jordan, also known as JMonster, and I'll see you guys with another